It seems to me, first of all, from what I understand from doctors, that's really rare. If it's a legitimate rape, the female body has ways to try to shut that whole thing down.
And when it comes to establishing your worldview, I was curious, what newspapers and magazines did you regularly read before you were tapped for this to stay informed and to understand the world?
I've read most of them, again, with a great appreciation for the press, for the media.
But like what ones specifically, I'm curious that you...
all of them, any of them that have...
Can demonic spirits attach themselves to inanimate objects? The answer is yes.
Welcome to Twatwaffle of the Week. Why do I do this to myself? What started out as two simple stories has morphed into something else. And yet I am trying to cram them all into a pithy little soundbite. Not happening. But anywho, I thought I would begin this week with a bit of anti-vaxxer woo bullshit. Given the current climate concerning Trump care, the measles outbreaks in Europe and in Minnesota, as well as RFK Jr.'s crap, this fits right in. The following came to my attention via debunking denialism. Susan Humphries and the measles. As you listen to this, I want you to keep a few things in mind. Humphries missed the entire third grade due to measles, a disease she considers benign. She is a nephrologist, i.e. a kidney specialist. Allegedly, she is also turned naturopath. On a side note, I will add that there is some debate or conflicting information concerning whether she is a naturopath or not. She does have one video that addresses a related claim of homeopathy. In that video, she denies being a homeopath, but she did study homeopathic medicine. The big part of naturopathic medicine is homeopathy. One also has to consider, too, that on Whale 2, she is listed under homeopaths, be that as it may. The third point to keep in mind is, in the past, Humphries has made statements that blatantly contradict science, but yet she claims to be well-founded in science.
I have been studying vaccines for the past 3 years of my life when it came up in my professional life.
No, you haven't.
And my current opinion about vaccinations is that they have never been safe.
Keyword, opinion.
Never has there been a safe vaccine. Never will there be a safe vaccine, and it is not possible to have a safe vaccine.
Crossing the street is not safe either. You want to ban that too? Long story short, she has no credentials in any related field to vaccinations or vaccine research. I have in the past railed often enough about common anti-vaxxer talking points, so I'm not going to rehash them now. There are numerous studies showing the efficacy and safety of vaccines. What caught my eye, and I'm not going to get into the general discussion of Energy's posting, it was this highlighted comment that got my hackles up. This is directly from Susan Humphries. I do think it matters, because those immune-compromised people are vulnerable to more than just measles. If measles was taken out of circulation, something else will get them. It's not fair to vaccinate all of the healthy children to protect a few immunocompromised people. Now, Andrew G. notes in his blog posting, quote, according to Susan Humphries, there is no point in protecting immunocompromised persons as they will die anyways. This view of humanity bothers me quite a bit, end quote. And it bothers me as well. So, should I stop taking my high blood pressure medications, Ms. Humphries? Because I'm going to die anyways? This is from a woman who claims to be a healthcare provider. I'm going to leave it at that. Although, I would be flaring her ass faster than a hummingbird flaps its wings. This next story I really wasn't going to cover because, oh, it's been covered pretty widely. But this article or opinion piece really caught me. And I did write this diatribe for Facebook, just a wee one. The American Healthcare Act's Prosperity Gospel. I'll give you a little bit of backstory here. Once again, I have been told that I'm being hyperbolic concerning the possible loss of healthcare. The individual in question took offense to my adding, quote, "I will die if the AHCA is approved," end quote, to my Facebook profile picture. Plain and simple, folks, and you will hear me rail on this to the day that I know my healthcare is safe. I, along with many other Americans, are recipients of life-sustaining medication. Okay, now while I do work part-time, my income is not enough to afford said medications. Okay, these are medications I require. These are not optional medications. Without them, I will die. In addition, my diabetes and now my 2 strokes are considered pre-existing conditions, which prior to the ACA would have not been covered. I personally know many people that are in the exact same boat. As I said, these meds are not optional, and if I miss even one dose, I am taking a huge risk. Most of what you hear from me as far as my main argument against the proposed changes fall into the political arena, so to speak. But there is one aspect that is often overlooked, and that's what this article notes. It's highlighted by Mo Brooks' statement while he was appearing with Jake Trapper.
The provisions, in an interview, President Trump said that people with pre-existing conditions will be protected. Insurance companies will not be allowed to deny them coverage. But my understanding is, as you just mentioned, this new legislation would allow states to opt out and allow insurance companies to refuse to sell insurance to people with pre-existing conditions as long as there's some setup for them, pools of some sort. Is the president sending a message to Congress to change that provision, or did he not understand what was in the bill?
Well, that's not my understanding of the way the bill has been reframed. My understanding is that it will allow insurance companies to require people who have higher health care costs to contribute more to the insurance pool that helps offset all these costs, thereby reducing the cost to those people who lead good lives, they're healthy, they've done the things to keep their bodies healthy. And right now, those are the people who've done things the right way that are seeing their costs skyrocketing. Now, in fairness, a lot of these people with pre-existing conditions, they have those conditions through no fault of their own. And I think our society, under those circumstances, needs to help.
The article goes on to note, quote, Brooks's explanation and his close association of morality and health with the idea that good lives produce good health is just a recasting of the prosperity gospel. The beliefs of some evangelicals connecting wealth to God's favor became intertwined with faith healing, and both rose to new heights in the television era on the backs of men like Oral Roberts. While it became part of the cults of personality around the generation of Pat Robertsons and Peter Popoffs that followed Roberts' lead, faith healing was also undeniably a policy statement. It at least partially rejected the role of science in public health and encouraged a view that faith, virtue, and good works could be enough to secure healing. And although the furthest extremes of the prosperity gospel often bring to mind church scandals, $1,000 suits, and parish helicopters, the basic idea that a healthy life was also a sign of favor fit right in with the gospel's defense of riches. Health is wealth. The author, Newkirk, then goes on to connect the dots to Trump. Quoting again, the appeal of the prosperity gospel is intricately linked to the rise of Donald Trump, and it's easy to see why. Much has been made of Trump's ties to prosperity gospel preaching televangelists. One is his personal advisor, and his own wealth and success is something to which disaffected working class people might aspire, however irrationally. Further along, Newkirk states, quote, Trump's rise came as the preacher of the prosperity gospel. His promise to repeal Obamacare and replace it with just about nothing in particular relied as much on dissatisfaction with the current law as it did on the delirious optimism of prosperity, and the idea that the real way to better America was to make life better for healthy and wealthy people, and further link the two. Now, originally I was going to leave it at that, just highlight that specific article, but things kind of intervened. And further discussion brought about the following from AEI, which is a nonpartisan 501c3 organization called The Pre-Existing Mess. This article was suggested to me as an explanation of the pre-existing condition issue, and basically it was a way to tell me to quit being hyperbolic. Now, on reading this, I really came away with the feeling that Ponaru feels that pre-existing conditions are not a detriment to having access to healthcare. Now, access is the key word, and this is what all of the Republican billions rely on, is having access to healthcare. So keep that in mind. So if that's the case, that regardless of your pre-existing condition, you will have access to health care, then why, according to David Pacman, did, quote, Republicans quietly remove pre-existing conditions promise from the website? As Pacman reported, the AHCA no longer includes a guarantee that those with pre-existing conditions would be protected from having to pay higher premiums. The link is in the show notes if you'd like to watch his segment on it. As I've stated before, and of course I'm borrowing from Bernie Sanders, having access, which is what Ponaru and many others argue, is not the same thing as being able to acquire. I have access to purchasing a $10 million home, but I don't have the means to do so. In other words, no way in hell I'm going to acquire a $10 million home on $7.25 an hour. Okay, and this is something that Pacman also makes note of as well. Another point to keep in mind, besides this whole access versus acquire, is that Medicaid, in and of itself, is slated for an $880 billion slashing. Okay, and this was something that Jake Tapper again brought out when he was talking to Tom Price, who is the head of the HHS. Basically, with this cut of funding, it's going to force states to do one of two things. They're either going to have to start limiting benefits, or they're going to have to cut the dole right from the outside. So for someone like me who's able to work, granted part-time, therein lays the issue. Without expanded Medicaid, which came through the ACA, I don't qualify. Expanded Medicaid increased the qualifications to 138% of the poverty level. With that, I qualify. Without that expansion, I do not qualify. And that's part of what's going bye-bye with this $880 billion price cut. So, yeah, it's a mess. And just one note to add to this is that Ponaru's article, which was given to me to read, was dated April 28th. And I believe it's prior to the AHCA website change, which was highlighted by Pacman. I'm only going to briefly mention this bit of news as Hemant Mehta has covered it thoroughly over at Friendly Atheist, but it kind of makes me chuckle. But to be honest, Ham takes up so much time, and his refusal, and I don't think it's a not understanding, I think it's outright refusal to understand SOCUS, and it's becoming really annoying. Actually beyond annoying. But I can't think of a good word concerning the man that would not get me in trouble on the internet. Creationist Ken Ham. Intolerant atheists are bullying Christians by asking for equal treatment. As Hammett notes, quote, he can name-call us all he wants, but the simple fact is that if atheists acted like Christians are in this story, Ham would immediately call it a case of persecution. Ham also this past week went down a religion of atheism canard that gets fucking old as well. In the show note, there's a video clip of Amanda Neef's interview, which sparked Ham's little diatribe relating to the bench that FFRF is asking for removal, as it has a suggestively Christian quote on it. And that's what this is all about. So, it's kind of been a quickie for this week, but as I said, I got bogged down in the first two initial stories as I was trying to sort them out. So, until next time, y'all have a good night. Take care. Bye-bye.